Okay, so my name is Kirsten, and I am a married professional planner, wedding planner with Nóbl Events, and I am joined today by some amazing, talented friends and colleagues who have all come together to share their point of view on being a wedding professional, but also being an engaged wedding professional during the COVID-19 pandemic. So I want to give everybody a chance to introduce themselves. Let's start in order of the alphabetical order here. So Ashley, go ahead, kick us off.
Hey guys, I'm Ashley. I am owner of Velvet Bordeaux Events. I do full planning, wedding day management, otherwise known as day of coordination. But I've been focusing on planning different events as well as weddings, and I am engaged.
Perfect. Jenna, kick us off. Go next.
Hi everyone, I'm Jenna. So I am a catering sales manager for a Toronto-based venue. And basically I'm the main point of contact for all weddings and social events at the venue. So I'm the one that sells all the weddings, details all the weddings, organizes the tastings, kind of organizes the itinerary, all vendors, basically anything that the venue needs to know in relation to our clients' weddings.
Perfect. Thank you. Jen, you're next.
Hello, my name is Jen. I'm a Hamilton-based wedding photographer. My company name is Jenn Kavanagh Photography. And I don't have a long spiel like the rest of you guys. It's pretty simple, just a wedding photographer. But yeah, I'm hoping to get married this August. But right now, we're not too sure how things are looking.
Julia, you're next.
Hey, so I'm Julia. I'm a Montreal-based photographer, specialized in weddings, also family, maternity, all that surrounds basically couples, love. So yeah, and I'm engaged and was supposed to get married June 6th. And we did postpone the wedding to next year. So yeah.
Amazing. Caroline, you're next.
Hi, I'm Caroline. I own On Point Weddings and Events. And I am an engaged wedding planner who is supposed to have her wedding on June 20th. And we're looking to postpone it to October of this year. So we're keeping our fingers crossed that everything works out.
And then last but certainly not least, Khrystyna.
Hi, so I'm Khrystyna, owner of Pastiche Events based in Toronto. And yeah, I mean, we are engaged and we're supposed to get married June 27th. We have moved it to next year. So yeah, I'm really happy to talk about all this.
So let's kind of start with a general question. And I think we've all kind of touched on it, but for those of you who haven't yet touched on it, how has COVID specifically touched your lives, touched your weddings, and what is the thought process between you and your fiance right now? Julia?
So I think now I'm in a good place right now because we decide to basically take control of the situation by postponing and being proactive with our wedding vendors and being proactive with our guests to let them know that we made that decision. It was about at least like 2-3 weeks ago already. So right now we're more looking forward to the new date that we've decided, and then being, I think, stressed and unhappy, even though obviously it's still fresh. And we watched like a movie on Netflix and there was a wedding and I started crying. That was super red. I was like, oh my God,
yeah,
we're not gonna do that like soon. I mean, but so yeah, that's where I'm right now. There was a phase that was extremely difficult when we were so unsure what to do, and when I think we were probably in denial, especially myself. I was like, no, it's gonna be fine, June 6th, it's gonna be all good. What are you talking about? But then being actually also a professional, I had weddings starting in April, then May, June, and then reaching out to couples and then seeing what they were thinking as well, and then seeing that they were postponing their weddings. I was like, oh, yeah, this is happening. I should probably be real about this and be proactive. So yeah.
Okay. On the flip side of that, Jen, here in the GTA, what was your reaction, or what was the conversation between you and your fiance?
Well, we had kind of a strange, I mean, everyone kind of remembers, the weekend, at least here in Ontario, where things kind of really hit the fan. So I personally was a bridesmaid on March 14th in a wedding, and it was extremely stressful. We just, back then we didn't know what was happening. We didn't know if things were kind of getting canceled day by day at that point. So by the time the wedding rolled around, events over 250 had been canceled. So we were still able to have it. But my poor friend, they had 30 people the day before canceled it was a lot. And then the next weekend I was supposed to be shooting the second wedding of the year. And they had to call it off 4 days before their wedding. So that kind of stuff gave me a bit of perspective as an August bride. I'm just kind of, at least trying to see the silver lining every kind of turn we take in this adventure. Like, I'm glad that, a lot of us are, June brides, July brides, August brides, they're able to at least have a bit of a heads up. We've kind of been able to prepare for it, whereas some folks were just, if your wedding was, March 21st, it was a bit of a shock. So in terms of my wedding, we're kind of, we're basically 99% sure we'll be postponing it. We've made the decision to kind of call it a little bit early. I think we could wait a little bit longer because our date doesn't fall within kind of the actual restrictions that are being placed right now. I'm just kind of in the same boat. Like, I just would rather, let's just kind of take care of this and take that stress away so that we can kind of focus and look forward to next year instead of the unknowns.
Right.
So you guys kind of had all these same conversations with your partners about, what it would look like if we waited and just kind of to see what happens. So we're okay with it now just because we've had so much time to sort of deal with it. So we're hoping we do have a good kind of, I would call it a backup plan. We just essentially have made sure that the date that our venue has offered us, all of our vendors are free for. So we're just sort of dragging our feet to make the final call, but we do have a backup plan that we're fine with, and just being kind of real about it, just realizing what's the most important. And at the end of the day, we'll get married. Maybe we'll be able to do it just the two of us on our original wedding date this year. That's something that we're kind of talking about, so that the original date is still special, and then just kind of celebrate next year. So.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. I want to jump to you, Caroline, because out of everybody, at least that I understand, you're dealing with technically for you a destination wedding, but really it's going home to Miami. So especially since you're getting married in the United States, and that's a very different environment right now, and things are happening politically and with the governments there. What was the conversation between you and Jenna, and how have you guys been dealing with it?
I'd say he's still in denial. But I kind of had a feeling in, I'd say maybe not the middle of March, but towards the end of March, beginning of April, I was starting to get this feeling that this isn't going to clear up. We're going to have to postpone. And I started talking to him. He was like, no, let's still wait a few more weeks until we make our final decision. And I was like, okay. By the time Easter rolls around, I was like, we need to make a decision, because that's about 2 months before our actual wedding date. So I was like, that's going to give us enough time to figure out, what vendors are going to be available. And, we wanted to still get married in 2020, at least try to. So I figured a lot of couples are going to be pushing into the fall, into, early winter. So I was like, let's try to figure out earlier rather than later if we can do this. So when I contacted the venue about postponing, there weren't a lot of dates available left in 2020. And since it is a destination wedding, we wanted to do it on a Saturday so that our guests could travel on a Friday and not miss too much of work, at least miss Friday, and then they can come back on Sunday. So, that's what we've decided right now, October 17th. And I don't know, now that, July weddings are getting canceled and possibly August weddings are getting canceled, I'm like, October's not that far behind them. So I was like, we may have to postpone again.
Right.
And I don't know if we have to postpone again to 2021, I think we would try to get married ourselves, do something very small with, our close family and friends, and then have a big party in 2021 with people who couldn't make it. But it is, heartbreaking that everything we planned isn't going to happen. And I remember when I signed when we signed our contract, the biggest fear we had, because it's taking place in Miami, Florida, I was like, oh my gosh, we're signing this in July. What if a hurricane comes in August or September, like right after we sign this, and then it ruins everything. So that was my biggest fear, not COVID. I was like, worldwide pandemic? What? No, that doesn't happen. But, yeah.
Right. Yeah, no, for sure. And I think I'm going to move over to Khrystyna, because I'm actually a part of her coordination team, because Pastiche and Khrystyna has a vision for her day. So I want to kind of move over. And I know that personally, our conversation, that this has been a struggle and that you and Nick have had conversations. So give us a little bit about your deciding factor and what you guys have kind of been going through.
So I had clients dealing with postponing pretty early, like even when they were just like whispers, they kind of postponed right away. And they were people who live outside of the country. So one of them was in the UK, and then the other couple had family coming in from all over Europe, the States, and South America. So they kind of saw, the first word, and they were like, okay, we got to postpone this. So they, at the time, again, I think that's important to kind of think about at what time you're making the decision, because we're in the business of like planning for the future. And right now we have no idea when the future is and what it looks like. So again, we're just doing the best we can in that moment. So when they postponed respectively to August and September, because that seemed like a good time to postpone. So the ones who postponed to August have now postponed again to next year. Anyway, so when they started, that's when I kind of felt, okay, these are May weddings. I need to start thinking about it. But like you said, I went through all the stages of, this is fine. Like June 27th is going to be fine. Or, then just like being super angry about it, and just everything, a lot of emotions. Like you mentioned, we talked about things like family and just things that come up for you. And I think that's been a really interesting part of, I think, being, in the industry, but also being engaged, is to be able to, I think to some vendors, to really communicate the emotional part of this as a engaged couple that has to go through this. And then also on the flip side, explain to clients a lot of, I'm sure we'll talk about it later, but like, the legal ramifications, or just like the general, consensus of everybody in the industry and how we're handling everything. So explaining that to the client. So that's been really interesting. But yeah, so personally, we did make a date, because I was having just a lot of anxiety about figuring out, it was a lot of like, people have visas, and how are they going to travel, and me being worried about things that, in the great scheme of things don't really matter, but it was just, me being me. So just a lot of stuff weighing on me. One of my first thoughts was, some of our grandparents might not live till next year to see us married. So how's that going to work? So I was just like not handling that very well. And we decided, okay, we'll wait like 2 weeks from whenever we had the conversation. We'll sit down, we'll look at it, we'll talk about it. And then we came to the decision that, again, just taking that kind of control and again, where we were, it was the best decision, I think, to say, let's just move it. Let's find a date. And due to, both of our schedules and family, and then me having postponements in the fall, we did postpone like straight to next summer. So and then we kind of told our families and everything, but we are planning to, I honestly didn't think it would happen on our original date, June 27th, but with some positive news this week, maybe it will still happen. But we are planning just to have like a civil ceremony in our backyard with just like our parents and grandparents. So at least, those people get to see us married and make it official, and then transferred everything else to next year. Yeah.
Thank you. Ashley, give us a little bit of your perspective and what you guys have been going through.
So for us, our wedding is already planned for 2021. So it hasn't been immensely impacted by everything that's been going on. However, we still have to make bookings for certain people, like booking our venue. As a planner, I did think a little bit backwards, where we booked our DJ first. But we started with the smaller things, and then we started going into the bigger things as well. And in regards to our venue, with myself out of work, it's a pretty big deposit putting down when you don't really have anything coming in. So that's been a bit of a struggle for us, just kind of locking everything in without being able to really give that much. In regards to like relating to my clients, I'm a really optimistic person. I believe that things happen for reasons. You know, their perfect day was this year. I try to remind them that they can still have that perfect day. The biggest change they're going to have to do is the date. And it just kind of helps them put things in perspective, because a lot of the times people who aren't planners don't all the different steps. Like, they think of it very overwhelming for them. So I like to remind them everything to checklist so that they understand that, you know, this can be done, but it's something that can be accomplished and can still be beautiful at the end.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And Jenna, again, last but not least, we kind of spoke about your experience as well, but share with us from your point of view what you've had to deal with your fiance and the conversations you've had to have.
So our wedding is scheduled for July 3rd. At the moment, so we're sitting at about 10 weeks out at this point. At the moment, we have not postponed, not by our choice. Our venue is not allowing us to postpone at this time, which has been interesting, to say the least. I mean, especially coming from someone who works at a venue, you know, does the sales for a venue. I've been really, and especially since I do relate to all of my clients at the moment, I've been really making a point to, you know, even if we're not at a point right now where we are postponing your wedding, like we have people reaching out for August, September, October, where it's just a little bit too soon to make that call. I'm also just making a point to be proactive and like, let's set up some backup dates, having the conversations as to, you know, why we're not postponing those weddings yet. And then of course, with special circumstances, kind of saying that like, we'll be able to provide some flexibility and work with people. On the flip side, with the experience with my own venue that I'm supposed to get married at, it has been a lot less flexible, which is kind of tough. I mean, I do understand where they're coming from because I work for a venue and I totally get it. I totally get how crazy things are right now. But realistically thinking as well, you know, our wedding, we're inviting about 300 people, and it's supposed to take place July 3rd. Like realistically, even if the economy does open back up again, let's say beginning mid-June, realistically, do we think it's feasible to have an event for over 200 people? Probably not. Right. So right now it is just kind of playing that waiting game, which I understand does kind of have to be done at this point. You know, we're all just kind of waiting for news from the government to kind of know our next steps. But it's frustrating. And, you know, I am losing sleep at night, kind of just wondering whether we're moving forward or not. But at this point, all we can really kind of do is be hopeful, you know, kind of make educated predictions on whether we think realistically it will be moving forward on July 3rd or not. We're thinking most likely not at this point, but yeah, still just playing that waiting game right now.
Right.